Here's more wrestling news for September 8th, 2022, and we're starting off with CM Punk as the effects of his actions during last week's all-out media scrum continue to be felt. Punk went into business for himself, lashing out at the Elite, Colt Cabana, and Adam Page during the press conference, and fought with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega backstage. On this week's Dynamite, Punk and the Elite were stripped of the AEW World and AEW World Trios titles, but that may not be all Punk faces when it comes to a punishment. According to sources who spoke to Fightful, while Omega, the Bucks, and others have been suspended, Punk and his trainer Ace Steel could still be fired. It is believed that Punk started the fight with the Elite, and it's been confirmed that Steel threw a chair which hit Nick Jackson in the eye and also bit Omega. It is said that out of everyone involved, only Punk and Steel were names considered for termination, and the hashtag FireCMPunk was trending on social media recently. At this time, Tony Khan hasn't confirmed that Punk and Steel are fired, but with reports that the police were involved and legal charges have been filed, the AEW president may have no choice but to let both men go. CM Punk's days with AEW may indeed be numbered, but he's not the only star who could be leaving our screens on a permanent basis. Earlier this year, Thunder Rosa captured the AEW Women's World Championship, but an injury has forced her to take a hiatus, and an interim women's champion has been crowned. On his Unleashed podcast, Brad Shepard reports that Rosa has asked for her release from the company, stating, "You've got the incident with Thunder Rosa, and frankly, the insults and attacks and the company burying her. Why would the company bury their top champions like they did with Thunder Rosa? She didn't get time with Tony Schiavone to get her over. You got Britt Baker and Tony Storm. You've got Tony Storm going out there in the media scrum joking about her allegedly being injured, and you've got Tony Khan smirking the entire time. So what's going on with Thunder Rosa? Because there's more here than meets the eye." Here's what I can tell you, is that Thunder Rosa requested her release after the Marina Shafir match. She didn't get that, she wanted time off, but since that time she has not requested her release again. She asked for her release because of the mismanagement and that's a fact. Now, where is she? Have they worked things out? It doesn't seem like it. The Shafir match referenced is a match between the two in June this year, where Thunder Rosa was accused of sandbagging, deliberately not working with her opponent to make Shafir look bad. As for the comments made on the all-out media scrum, Tony Storm insinuated that Rosa isn't injured and is instead being kept away from AEW for the time being due to significant heat she has backstage. It's worth mentioning at this time that Thunder Rosa's husband Bryan has denied that Rosa asked for her release after the Shafir match. Ultimately, the last thing Tony Khan needs right now is another top name causing a stir, but with Rosa out for the foreseeable future, the fate of the Women's World Champion is something the AEW president will have to deal with. Last month, Patrick Clark, formerly known as Velveteen Dream, was arrested twice, once for ownership of drug paraphernalia and another for trespassing and battery in the first degree. There's now been an update in the case as we now know more about exactly what happened with the battery charge leveled against the former NXT superstar. TMZ is reporting that Dream assaulted a gym employee last month by punching him in the face and biting on the evening of August 20th at the Club Orlando fitness facility. Documents from the incident say that the employee had told Clark to leave the area as it was closed for cleaning, which is when the former superstar became irate and argumentative. The situation escalated to the point where Clark was told to leave the building, and Clark responded with threats to kill the gym employee before hitting him in the face. After a brief scuffle, Clark bit the man and was arrested after officers observed teeth marks on the employee's chest near the right armpit. Clark has pled not guilty in the case, though his chances of returning to WWE seem to get smaller and smaller each day, and we'll keep following this case for further updates. In April 2021, Pat McAfee joined SmackDown as their color commentator and has been praised by fans and those in the industry for his passion. In addition to his work with WWE, Pat also has his own show on YouTube, but now has yet another huge role to his name. The New York Post were the first to break the news that McAfee is now a member of ESPN's College Game Day TV show and will be bringing his expertise to this Saturday's game between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Texas Longhorns. The role is described as a full-time gig for McAfee and ESPN, but it adds that he is also going to keep up his work on his YouTube show. While it was initially reported that McAfee would also keep up with SmackDown, Pat later confirmed that while he'll be doing things with WWE, his role on the Blue brand will be on hold. Responding to the news on Twitter, Triple H said McAfee approached WWE about the possible deal with College Game Day and that the company would never stand in Pat's way. Triple H also confirmed that Pat will remain a member of WWE despite his hiatus from SmackDown, calling McAfee the architect of an exceptional career. Before coming to WWE, McAfee was a star punter in the NFL, and football fans will soon get to hear more from Pat starting this Saturday. In July, Vince McMahon confirmed his retirement from WWE a month after stepping down from his roles as CEO and chairman of the company. While McMahon's retirement came in part due to the ongoing investigation against him, WWE were quick to praise the former boss, with Stephanie McMahon even leading a "Thank you Vince" chant on the first post-Vince SmackDown. One name who benefited from Vince McMahon is Seth Rollins, as it was under the ex-CEO's watch that Seth became a multi-time world champion and top name in WWE. Speaking on the Out of Character podcast, Seth told Ryan Satin that he had both good and bad experiences with Vince McMahon, saying, "With Vince, it was like kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, you knew exactly who to go to all the time. Every answer needed to go through Vince. That was security in that. If you needed something and you needed an answer pronto, he was right there. You knew exactly that if you got yes from him, nothing else beneath that mattered. So that was really cool. You could understand his vision. Once you worked with him for a long time, you started to understand that. On the other side of that, he was very flippant. He was very all over the place. That was to his credit, part of his genius, but it was also like very stressful to deal with as a talent." Now McMahon's role as head of WWE Creative has been taken over by Triple H, someone else that Rollins has a good relationship with, so expect the visionary to be in the forefront of programming for years to come. Triple H has certainly risen in power following the Vince McMahon retirement, as he's now head of creative and talent relations, but he's not alone in moving up the corporate ladder. Shawn Michaels worked closely with Triple H when they were running NXT, and now the Heartbreak Kid has received a promotion. CBS Sports has confirmed that Shawn has been promoted as Senior Vice President of Talent Development Creative after being listed as VP of Talent Development Creative during an August press release. Michaels' work behind the scenes began in 2016 and as an NXT trainer before moving on to becoming a writer and producer with Triple H. When the game's cardiac event caused him to take a break, Michaels then took control over NXT programming and now has even more influence backstage. Considered by many to be the greatest of all time, Shawn Michaels' work in the ring speaks for itself, but now Mr. WrestleMania has formed a new legacy in WWE as an incredibly valuable individual behind the scenes. Back to AEW, as this week's show had a lot going on due to the CM Punk scandal, but it'll be a Dynamite Daniel Garcia will remember for a very different reason. Last night's episode saw Garcia face Wheeler Yuta for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship, and the self-professed Dragon Slayer was able to get the win and the title. This was the second time the two had faced off for the Pure Championship, as Yuta and Garcia went at ROH's Death Before Dishonor, though Yuta retained on that night. Not only did Garcia win the championship this week, but he did so in his own hometown of Buffalo, New York, and even had West Side Gun perform his entrance. The Buffalo crowd were firmly behind Garcia for the entire match and erupted when he made the Blackpool Combat Club member tap to the Dragon Tamer finisher. Garcia's relationships with the Jericho Appreciation Society have been strained as of late, and with Chris Jericho and the BCC's Bryan Danielson set to face off next week in an ROH World Title semifinal, things could be able to get more interesting for the new ROH Pure Champion. As we mentioned earlier, Triple H suffered a cardiac event last September, at around the same time he lost control of NXT. September 2021 marked the relaunch of NXT into NXT 2.0, which was met with a ton of backlash from fans who preferred the black and gold brand. Speaking to Ariel Helwani of BT Sport, Triple H addressed the change from NXT to NXT 2.0 and made it clear he wasn't a fan at first. When I stepped away for health reasons and there was already pressure to change the direction and change what it was, and that happened, I knew what the changes were. I don't know that I necessarily agreed with all of them. The game added that while not everything in NXT 2.0 has been to his liking, there's also been a lot of positives with the new show. Next week will mark a year of NXT 2.0. And with Triple H now head of creative, it'll be interesting to see how the paint-splattered brand ring in their anniversary. And we're ending today as we started with CM Punk, as the general consensus about the two-time former AEW World Champion has not been great. With reports that Punk instigated the fight at All Out, words like unprofessional and whiny have been thrown around about him, but there are some on his side. It's been said that the AEW roster has never been more anti-CM Punk. Anthony Bowens is ready to stand up for the Chicago wrestler. Speaking to Wrestling Inc., admittedly before All Out, Anthony Bowens said that Punk has been a good asset to AEW and that he's had a great relationship with Punk since joining the company. Bowens praised Punk as someone who brings an analytical point of view to AEW, as well as a significant amount of money from ratings. Given that Bowens made his comments before All Out, we can't help but wonder if his view has changed, and while Punk may have indeed been a good asset, he may have pushed AEW and Tony Khan to their limit. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.